If you were chosen to give the Chayza of Lublin a haircut, how many mikvahs would you jump into before taking on the task? The story is that one year the Chayza of Lublin was desperate for a haircut right before Yantiv. And everyone knew that they had to be very careful with who they choose to give the Lubliner a haircut, because in the past, whenever anyone would begin to touch the Lubliner's head, if they weren't holding, if they weren't mensches, if they weren't ehrlich, if they weren't pure, the Lubliner was just too sensitive. His whole body would just begin to jolt, and it was a bad scene. So there was one year that they brought in barber after barber, and every time they put their hands on the Lubliner's head to begin to cut the hair, it didn't end up good. The Chassidim are desperate. Yantiv is going to be the next day. They didn't know how much more time they're going to have until they find someone. They decide to start to walk the streets to look for someone, and they found a person standing on the road, and he had a sign. It said, "Doctor and Barber." They thought, what do we know? We don't know who this is. It doesn't hurt to try at least. And this doctor/barber comes in. He looked a little bit like a schlump, but he comes in and he puts his hands on the Lubliner's kepi on his head, and the Lubliner is so peaceful. It feels so good. They don't know what's going on, Chassid. Who is this guy? He looked like a schlump. They just took a chance. He gives the Lubliner the haircut of all haircuts. The Chassidim are so calm now, and they're relaxed, but they need to find out who this guy is. So after the haircut, they said, come with us. They took him to a local bar, a tavern, and they give him a l'chaim, and they say, tell us, who are you? He says, I'm just a, doctor/barber. He said, yeah, but who, come on, what's your story? He says, well, I'll tell you what happened to me recently. I was walking around doing my thing, my barbering and doctoring in some local town, and there was a crime in the city, and what did they do back then? Whenever a crime was done and they couldn't find anybody, or even if they could find the person that was responsible, they always found the first Jew and tried to punish him. So there was a crime, I believe it was a robbery, and they found the token Jew, was married, 8 kids. They tied him up to a pole, and they sentenced him to 100 lashes. And I'm a doctor, I saw that if he was getting already 20 lashes, if he gets 2 more, he's toast. And I figured, he's married with kids. I'm not married, I don't have any children. So I told them, it was me, I committed the crime. And they released that Yid. He went back to his family, and they put me on the pole, and they started lashing at me. And the pain was simply not from this world. And I sensed that if I myself am going to keep on getting lashes, I'm going to take off. And I looked up to heavens. I said, Master of the world, have a bit Rahmanis on me. I was just trying to cover for him, but I'm afraid that my life will be taken if this doesn't stop. And it stopped. The Chassidim looked at each other. They realized those hands coming from a person who was willing to do that for another Yid. Now they understood why those hands put the Lubliner at such ease. Kol Yisrael mamash arevim ze leze.